Hello everyone, this is part 23 of What If Naruto Was Adopted by Kakashi, and I hope you guys enjoy this video and to like, to subscribe, and check out the playlist, to see more comment down below. Now let's start the intro.
They call me a god. They call me a god. They call me a god.
With the fights over, the winners were gathered up in front of the giant statue of the Hands. The Hokage as well as the Jonins were all there as the final part was done. Everyone would be gotten a random number for the next round of fights. One by one the Genins went up and took a green ball with a number on it. Once they called out the number, their name was written on a board that had been brought in. Once the names were placed, it was then that everyone could see their matches. First final matches would be Sakura vs Amy, Naruto vs Gendo, Lee vs Dosu, Sasuke vs Gaara, Neji vs Shino, and finally Temari vs Shikamaru. Neji didn't look too happy about that as he had wanted the Suna girl, but if he defeated Shino he could fight her if she won. Then again, the fact he was up against Shikamaru could easily mean that she would win. He had nothing against the boy, it was just that Shikamaru was the laziest and undisciplined genin he had ever seen. The girl was obviously the total opposite, so the odds were in favor of him meeting up with her. The Mist Ninja didn't look even fazed by the death of their comrade. They did give cold looks to Gaara, who just ignored them. Both of them were hoping to fight Gaara in the final rounds, although no one knew how Mist really operated other than Mist Ninja, but failure was not tolerated. The fact that one of their own was killed only meant that he was weak and would have died at any rate. He should have tried to take the Suna boy down with him, as the Mist didn't shy away from death. Out of all the greater ninja nations, they were the smallest, but it wasn't the face they were an island country, or their location, that kept them safe and a force to be feared. It was how they fought. They fought with embracing death. They killed without hesitation, attacked without worrying about their own safety. If death was assured, then you were to take your enemy to hell with you. That is what it meant to be a Mist Ninja. You were to become demons and monsters of death and mayhem. That was why they were one of the strongest, and why no one had invaded their lands in a long time. Because everyone knew that you would have to pay in blood for every inch you stepped. After the Hokage dismissed them, the teams were filling out of the area. A safe path would be given to the teams for the quickest way out of the forest, but Kakashi had other things to do at the moment. So far he had to trail all three of his students for the final round. He had been thinking on this. Each student would need to be trained individually in order to win and even survive this. Kakashi didn't like that two of his genins were going up against those Mist genins. Plus Sasuke just had to get that Gaara kid as well. At any rate, he wouldn't be able to split his attention between all three and still get them ready. He moved off to make sure that he would be able to get at least one student training by someone he trusted. "Anko, can I speak with you?" Kakashi asked as he walked up to his girlfriend. "Sure, what is it? I need a favor." She smirked at him. "Again? Well, just because we're dating doesn't mean it's for free. So what do you need me for?" "I want you to train Sakura for me for the month," Kakashi said to her. "I have a new Eustace that she can learn and she'll need to learn them. I can't teach her, but you can, plus I think she looks up to you. Also, I know you can help her out and I trust you." Anko was surprised by this and felt happy that he was trusting her with one of his genins. Sure, she had helped out before, but this was a bit more different. He was placing the life of his genin in her hands. She had seen what that Amy kid had done. Sakura would need to really get some training in, to survive a fight with that girl. Plus she had to admit the pink-haired girl had been impressing her lately. First in the forest and now in the arena, she was curious as to what the girl could do if really pushed hard. "You know what, I'll do it for free. I like the girl and tell her that in a couple of days I'll come by her place. I need to get a training area ready first, so I hope she doesn't mind." Kakashi nodded. "That's good, a couple of days is all I need to set things up." "Thanks. Not a problem." She grinned at him. Now with that out of the way, he needed to track down the person he wanted to train Naruto, plus he needed him to take a look at that seal on Naruto's stomach. He had gotten lucky with the opponent, but he could already see that people were giving him questioning looks. It had to be hard to keep that a secret from everyone, and if this kept up, they might figure it out. But it was Naruto's choice to tell them he wouldn't interfere. Sometimes a parent had to let a child make their own choices in life. It was the only way to truly learn and grow at times. Forest of Death Tower, hospital area. The tower had its own medical area given that this place was designed for holding battles. Each person was given their own room so that each person would heal in peace. Once they were stabilized, they would be moved to the main hospital in the village for further care. At this moment, Neji was standing outside the room for Tenten. He had been waiting for over an hour before the medics told him that he could visit her, but only for an hour. She needed her rest after they had fixed her up. Neji saw Lee and Guy as well, but Guy just gave him a thumbs up. Neji sighed as he went in and gently went to the single bed in the small room. Tenten was lying in the bed. The medics had taken her hair out of the buns and it was all loose. He felt his cheeks heat up as he looked at her. She had a few bandages here and there, but she looked peaceful like that. Even kind of beautiful. He shook himself out of it as he tried to think of something else. Neji. Tenten's voice called out to him. He looked to see her eyes were open as looking at him. When their eyes locked, she suddenly looked away, almost in shame. I can't believe I lost so badly. I thought I already told you that I was proud of how fierce you fought. Neji said as he took the seat next to her bed. I know, but still, I thought I was better than that. Tenten sighed. She wouldn't feel like this if she had only done better. There was nothing wrong with losing, but losing that badly had hurt her pride as a ninja. Neji knew how prideful she was. Her ambition was to be as famous as the great Tsunade after all. He wasn't sure what to say. He wasn't that great when it came to personal stuff. Tenten, we all think you did your best and we're all proud. The only thing you can do now is learn from it and get stronger. Tenten looked up at the ceiling as she thought about that. It was true that she could learn something from this. She needed to come up with a way to get around that hole in her technique. It seems I'm fighting Shino, but if I pass him then I'll be fighting the Tsunade girl most likely. Neji told her. I'm not sure how to beat her, but there is a month to plan for that. However, there is the problem with Shino. With his bugs he can attack on multiple angles. There is a technique I could do, but I'll need your help with it. My help? She blinked at him. He nodded. I need someone I trust and whose skills are perfect for this. I need your strength in order to win. Plus I'm sure between us we could think of something to deal with that girl's wind attacks. Tenten felt her cheeks heat up slightly. He wanted to train with just her, for a full month. You sure you want me? He took her hand in his and squeezed it gently. There is no one else I would want. Sakura had to wait even longer than Neji did, given that Ino had been even more injured. After being told that Anko would be her sensei for the month, she had been a bit excited at that. But now she was just filled with worry. Her oldest friend was laying in there and she felt so helpless. She wanted to be able to help, but what could she do? Once again people around her were injured and she could do nothing. It was like the forest all over again. She only knew the basics that were taught in school about first aid. Not how to stop bleeding wounds, blood loss and major injuries. She caught a waste basket to the side. There were bloody bandages that hadn't been thrown out yet. A feeling of throwing up nearly came to her. But she quickly put it down. Now wasn't the time and she needed to see Ino first. She was asleep by the looks of it and she just sat there looking at her best friend in the world. She looked paler than normal and she was breathing deep. Most likely she was under some kind of medication. Sakura gently touched her friend's hand with hers. I don't know if you can hear me, but I'll get that girl back for this. I'm going to train hard this month and I will beat her. You have my promise on that. After Sakura left, she felt a new determination to revenge her friend. She saw her team had been waiting and nodded to them as they went in to check on her. Sakura found her team waiting around for Kakashi to show up. She cast a look to her teammates. She was a little worried about both of them for different reasons. But it was Naruto that had her concerned the most. So how is Ino doing? Naruto asked. Better, but she lost a lot of blood. They want to keep her overnight to let her body rest before moving her. Sakura remembered the old bloody bandages she had seen. She was so lucky. If that girl had cut into her wrists or something she would have bleed to death. Man, these mist guys are pissing me off, Naruto said angrily. I mean what they tried to pull with Kiba and now Ino. Plus they weren't concerned at all that one of their teammates was killed. They obviously don't care about their teammates. Sasuke spoke up as he thought about it. Remember that story Kakashi-sensei told us about how it used to be called the Blood Mist? I get the feeling that it's everyone for themselves there. It hasn't been that long and depending on who trained them, if they're from that older generation like Zabuza. He left it hanging as that reminded him of their encounter. they couldn't speak out about it just in case someone overheard. But they all remembered how Zabuza had been a very cold person before he had a change of heart. It might be a good thing that the Mist Sensei hadn't been seen. Not all Genins had their sensei with them. After all, with all the other teams here, they had only seen one sensei from Suna. Even Kabuto's team didn't seem to have one with them. Well, we got a month to train for them, Sasuke commented as the others nodded with that. Sakura looked to Naruto. He seemed a bit better now than he had been earlier. She figured that maybe she could ask him what was bothering him and what was going on. Hey Naruto, do you want to talk about what happened? She asked gently. What do you mean? He asked, trying to feign ignorance. She means the weird feeling you gave off in the forest and what happened with that guy you fought. Sasuke said point blank. He never was one to dance around a topic. He too had started to notice the odd things with Naruto and he didn't like people keeping secrets from him. Naruto wasn't sure what to do at the moment. He had thought about telling him the truth many times, but honestly it's not something you can just tell people. He was still debating telling Hinata. In fact, he felt she had more of a right to know. He was in a relationship with her now, so he had to tell her at some point, but there was still that fear of what would people think of his secrets. He didn't like it, but sometimes you couldn't just tell people everything. He looked at his two teammates and knew that he couldn't keep them in the dark eventually. Sakura could see that this was really bothering Naruto. He always seemed so sure of himself, but now being so lost on what to do, she felt a bit bad putting him in a spot like this. Naruto, you know you can trust us with anything, right? Sakura told him. We wouldn't think anything less of you, but if you don't want to tell us, you don't have to. But just remember that we're your friends and always will be okay. Okay. Now Naruto felt both bad and keeping his secrets and guilty. After everything they had gone through, they did deserve to know something. What kind of friend would he be? He needed time to think, both on what to do and what to tell them, let alone how to tell them. It's not like you can just blurt out the biggest secrets you had. Maybe he could finally tell someone. This secret was like the weight of the world on his shoulders. Guys, I know you're my team and I want to tell you. But it's kind of hard for me. Naruto said softly. So there is something, Sasuke commented as he sighed. Well, whatever, everyone is entitled to their personal lives, but this isn't something we have to worry about, is it? No, in fact I only found out not too long ago. He figured that if they could understand a bit they might accept that much. At least for now they might. But I can't speak about it in a place like this, too many people could hear it. Well, when you're ready we will be there to listen, okay? Sakura said with a smile. Naruto looked at the two of them and he felt a bit better that they were patient with him. He smiled under his mask and nodded. Ah, there you all are, Kakashi said, walking up to them. I managed to get things settled, so everyone meet me tomorrow at the usual time and place. Also Naruto, I will be working late on something, so please don't wait up. Something important? Naruto asked. Kakashi nodded, just something to help deal with Sasuke's little problem with that mark. I would have done it sooner, but staying around here and looking for help in training you all, well, I got behind in my work. Help with our training? Sakura asked. Kakashi nodded, yes, I can't train all three of you. So I'll be training Sasuke. I hope you don't mind Naruto, but I've trained you for your entire life and I felt you needed someone else's help for once. Don't worry, the man I picked will certainly help you beat that guy you're up against. At least I hope I can find him. I know he's here, but I need to make sure that I give Naruto a good teacher. Also, I'm pretty sure I can convince him to train Naruto. Kakashi thought to himself. As for Sakura, I hope you don't mind who I picked. She's very interested in training you for the month. Also, I'll be giving you some jutsu scrolls. It's time you learn to harness your elemental chakra, and if I remember, you tested as water. It should be very surprising to be able to use that against your opponent, as I bet she won't be expecting that. Kakashi concluded. Sakura grinned at that. Anything that would help her was welcomed. Elsewhere, it hadn't been easy for Kakashi to find him. He had considered using his dogs to find him, but honestly he was still trying to avoid high chakra use, and summoning wasn't easy on your chakra. So he resorted to the old-fashioned way. He went looking for where any pervert would be. The adult bookstore was a bust and he had to force himself not to stay too long in there. Then there were the parks, public pool, but the hot springs was when he had finally found him. For a normal person or even an average ninja he would have been hard to spot, but Kakashi wasn't called a genius as a child for nothing. There behind the wall of the women's section, hidden behind some realistic-looking bushes, was Jiraiya as he was looking through a small peephole that he obviously had made. He giggled as he stopped to write something down. Kakashi slowly made his way up behind him. He figured the man's attention was totally on the women. So how did the kid do? I heard you ran into some trouble in the forest, Jiraiya said, not looking up from his notes. Kakashi blinked in surprise. Obviously, even at least 50, the man's skills hadn't lessened. Well, the man was a legend for a reason. Yes, Orochimaru was in the forest of death and I got the injuries to prove it. Kakashi tried not to clench his teeth at the thought of what the man had done to his genins and Anko. He also put a curse mark on Sasuke. That got Jiraiya to stop writing. He knew a serious topic when one came up. What do you plan on doing with that? Even I can't get rid of those damn things. I tried once with that girlfriend of yours when she first got back. Kakashi was yet again surprised. She never mentioned that. Oh, she didn't know, as she hadn't been conscious at the time. They weren't sure of her loyalties that early on. He sighed, remembering that day. He had been found and brought back to take a look at the seal when the girl was unconscious. He tried a few things, but whatever Orochimaru had been playing around with wasn't anything he had seen before. Well, I plan on putting a seal around it. It should help him at least control it from activating. Kakashi told him, and he nodded his head. Also, I'm here on a more personal matter. What's that? I want you to train Naruto for the month, Kakashi said simply. I can't train them all. I got Anko training Sakura and I need to train Sasuke, as there are only a few things that only I can teach him. He'll need them to survive. Naruto's fight is going to be deadly and I need you to train him for me. What's the worst that can happen? Kakashi gave him a serious look. He's up against a Mist member and they're out to prove something. Jiraiya groaned in disgust. If a Mist ninja wasn't bad enough, one with something to prove was even worse. Plus, I need you to take a look at him as well. Orochimaru did something to the seal. Those words made Jiraiya drop his notepad. To mess with the seal that Minato put on Naruto was insane. Not even he knew the full extent of the seal, as it was the most complex and brilliant design he had ever seen. Sure, he could copy the effects, but there was something about the seal that eluded him. Then again, Minato had been a true genius with seals and ninjutsu. Someone like him only game maybe once 100 years. But the fact that Orochimaru would do something so dangerous just proved how insane his teammate had gone. What are the effects? Jiraiya asked as he got his pad off the grass. He seems to have trouble molding his chakra. Jiraiya thought about it. Only a few things could do that. Thankfully, nothing came to mind that was dangerous, like releasing that damn fox demon among them again. Well, he would have to deal with his. He couldn't have Orochimaru screwing around with things like that at any rate. Plus, the boy was interesting. He still remembered the first meeting at these hot springs. The kid was something to say the least. He planned on training the boy anyway when the time was right, in Minato's memory, but it looked like he would have to start off a bit more earlier than he had planned. Have him meet me here tomorrow and I'll get started, Jiraiya said as he went back to looking at the beautiful women in the warm water again. Kakashi only nodded as he left quietly. With that out of the way now, he just needed to set up the seal for Sasuke that he would use tomorrow. He sighed. It was a long day and already it wasn't over with yet. Outside the Hatake home, Naruto sighed as he walked home. He didn't really feel like eating, only sleeping for a day. He was wondering what his dad would be doing, but decided that he would find out soon enough. Plus, he had to sleep on what he was going to do with his secret. Then there was this mysterious trainer. Who was his dad going to pick? Was it someone that he knew like a Jonin or someone special? He tried to think of what could possibly be the new trainer, but honestly he wasn't sure. The only thing he knew was that it was a guy and that was it. Naruto-kun. Naruto nearly jumped at the sound of Hinata's soft voice. He was surprised to find her behind him. He must have really been out of it to not notice her of all people. Suddenly he felt a lot happier seeing her there. Hey there, Hinata-chan. Sorry you didn't pass, but that was one hell of a fight. I'm sure you'll be a lot strong next time. Hinata gave a soft smile at this. He always was behind her even in her defeats. Thank you. I decided that I didn't want to fall behind, so I'm having Kurenai-sensei train me. Shino-kun is training with his family and I wanted to learn more than just my family style. Kurenai-sensei said she would agree, but I came here for another reason. Oh. Naruto wondered what it could be. Then again, he had the home alone. Maybe she wanted to make out. He grinned at the thought of them on the couch together for who knows how long. My father wants you over for dinner, Hinata said, bursting his bubble. He knows that we're dating and wants to meet you. But he already knows me. Naruto said, confused. She looked down, playing with her fingers when she was really nervous about something. No, I mean in a more professional point. As in he wants to talk about us with you. Oh, that kind of dinner, Naruto said in a very defeated tone. He knew that kind of thing might happen, but he had hoped that since Hiashi knew him so well he might let it slid. Apparently not, and now he had to do this as well. Hinata nodded. If you can you make it tomorrow night? I know the training might start then, but after that night we might not see each other for over a month. She looked a bit depressed at this, and he suddenly realized that this would be a month without his girlfriend. Oh man, this is going to be a very long month, Naruto thought. If I want to see her one last time, then I have to go through with this and get it over with at the same time. Is this formal? He asked with a sigh. He insisted, Hinata told him. Naruto hung his head in defeat. I'll be there by 7. Hinata looked up, happy that he would agree, and hugged him tightly. He felt how her body pressed up against him. He also couldn't help but remember what she looked like in a swimsuit and out of it, and what was pressed up against him. Well, maybe it wasn't all bad if he got hugs from her at least. Thank you so much, she told him, smiling. He couldn't help but smile back. Well, anything for my girlfriend, right? What kind of boyfriend would I be? She giggled at him, happy that he would agree to this. She just hoped her family would behave. The next day saw all of Team 7 gathered around the usual training area. Each one was wondering what was going to happen that day. Well, that and both Sakura and Sasuke noticed that Naruto was nervous. They just didn't know what he was nervous about. After 10 minutes of him pacing, Sasuke had enough and decided to get down to what was bothering Naruto. What the hell is with you? Sasuke asked, annoyed. You act like the end of the world is coming or something. Naruto paused as he looked to his friends. He still wasn't sure to tell them his big secrets even after a fitful sleep. He had been tossing and turning nearly all night with what to do with them, Hinata and the dinner coming up. Then there was the training and his match against that mist guy as well. All in all, this was the most stressful time in his young life, and he was not enjoying it. He was the one that usually gave other people stress, damn it. Hinata asked me to go to her family's place for dinner. Apparently her dad wants to talk with me. He sighed. Oh, was Sasuke's only response. He guessed that would explain things. Well, at least Hinata's father likes you, right? Sakura knew that Naruto had been on good terms with the Hyuga for years now. She still remembered visiting him in the hospital that one time when Hinata was nearly kidnapped. In fact, thinking back on it, hadn't he said something about getting stabbed in the chest? That had been a very long time ago, but she was sure that's what he said. She remembered the bandages on his chest. But he had no scar on his chest. She had seen him when they all went swimming that one day, and there was no indication of a scar. She had completely forgotten about that until now. Was this another thing to do with his big secret? She wouldn't push him on it, but looking back, there were certainly some odd things about Naruto's health. He never had a sick day, not once while in school. Any injuries he did have seemed to be gone the next day. She hadn't thought much about them, as he just claimed he was a fast healer. But scars like the one that should be on his chest don't just heal, at least not normally. Naruto, what are you keeping from us, and will you ever trust us to tell us? Sakura thought, and she hoped one day he would. Naruto himself was deep in thought about tonight. He didn't know why he was so nervous. It wasn't like Hiashi would forbid him from seeing Hinata, would he? The man was the head of the clan, so it was possible he could order her not to. He was taken out of that line of thought as a familiar sense of dread came over him. His instincts kicked in as he moved just enough to let a kunai pass back his cheek. There was only one person that kept on trying to toy with him like that ever since he had started to wear the masks, which she started anyway. Damn it, stop doing that. Naruto yelled at the trees as Anko jumped down, grinning at him. But it's just so cute how angry you get, Squirt. She laughed a little. Well, I don't like you ruining my masks. Anko just brushed it off as she walked over to Sakura and looked her over. Well, looks like you and me will be spending a lot of time together. Now let me just say, I won't go easy on you, and this month will be most likely the most grueling and tough month of your life. So I want you to give me everything you got and then some. I want you to keep training until you puke blood and then get back up for more. Got me? Sakura gulped and nodded her head, not really trusting her voice. When Anko got serious, she could be very intimidating. Anko gave her a long look as if she was judging Sakura, which in a way she was trying to see if the girl really meant it. The body seemed weak, but the girl's green eyes had that spark of fire in Tesham. That was good, she would need that for the month. I'll hold you to that. So everyone is here, Kakashi said as he and an older man with long spiky white hair came walking to them. Sasuke and Sakura didn't know the strange man, but Anko had a look of surprise on her face. Even with her ninja training, she couldn't wipe the surprise off it. It wasn't every day you meet one of the legendary three. She had only met Tsunade once, when she was first brought back after being found. Then her old sensei being another, it was rare to be able to say you meet all three, at least for those in her generation that is. Naruto however did know who this was as he got a smile under his mask as he pointed at the all-man. Ero Sennin. I haven't seen you since me and Konohamaru ran into you. Kakashi gave the old man an amused look. Ero Sennin, huh? Couldn't you have taught him some manners? Jiraiya muttered to the younger man. Kakashi just shrugged, tried it and failed, so I gave up. It was too much energy as I doubt he would ever change, besides he usually gives nicknames to those that are special to him, so take heart with that. Jiraiya gave a sour face. That wasn't much of a good thing. The least the boy could do was to give him at least a somewhat decent nickname. You know that guy? Sasuke asked his blonde teammate. Yeah, I met him once before. He's the guy that writes those books of my dad's, I'm sure you remember, right? Naruto grinned as Sasuke turned a slight shade of red. He never did forgive him for making him hear one of those books all those years ago. He's also one of the strongest ninja alive, Anko said as she swatted the back of Naruto's head lightly. You should show some respect, brat. Maybe when you stop acting crazy, Naruto muttered. What? Is that any way to talk back to me? I thought I was your auntie Anko, or has that status been changed since I've been dating your dad? Anko couldn't help but smirk as Naruto got very uncomfortable. It wasn't like he was against them dating, in fact he actually liked the idea. But he just didn't like the mental pictures of them together alone, that came up. There were just some things a child didn't want to know about his father. Kakashi walked over to Anko. He was glad to see her arm out of that sling, although he could tell she was still hurting. Hell, he still was as well, but they couldn't wait to get better. They might not be of full strength, but they didn't have any time to waste. He dug out the scrolls that he had made for Sakura. She would need them. Here, these are for Sakura, he said, handing them over. She's a water type, so I thought it would be good for her to use these. Anko took them and placed them in her coat. Sure thing, she'll need everything she can get. She signed as a thought hit her. A whole month apart, man, this is going to just drag on. He chuckled as he gave her that one-eyed smile of his. Yes it will, but I can't wait until it's over so we can make up for the time. She smirked as that thought brought a smile to her face. Pervert. I thought you liked that part of me. He whispered into her ear. He could see her trying not to shudder at the sensation of his breath there. She ran a slender finger over his jawline. Who said I was complaining? She could tease him just as much as he could. It would be a very long month, but she had a student to take her frustrations out on, plus she was looking forward to when they were together again. Sure, they hadn't dated much, but they were still in that phase when everything was still new and exciting. I think I'm going to be sick, Naruto muttered deadpan, seeing them like that. He was too far away to hear what they were saying, but you didn't need to hear with what he was seeing. I think it's cute, Sakura told him as she giggled at the sight. Sasuke just shrugged it off. He really wasn't the romantic type anyway. Jiraiya, however, was making some notes while no one was looking. This was definitely going into his new book. Sasuke wasn't sure what to think at first. Kakashi had led him into some underground chamber with torches lighting the area and then told to take his top off. If it had been anyone else, he would have had a very bad feeling about this. But as he did so, he noticed that Kakashi was drawing on the ground. Sasuke watched as the Jonin drew a seal, but one he had never seen before. Then again, he didn't know much about seals. He was told to sit in the center and so he did so. It was cold and he wished he could at least put on a shirt. Kakashi then took out some kind of ink as he started to make seals onto Sasuke's body. He was getting bored of just waiting around for this to finish, so he figured he might be able to get some answers. So, this will help with that mark on my neck? Sasuke asked. Kakashi nodded. Yes, the barrier seal I'm putting on will help with the effects. But it will only work as long as you will it too. It will work on your willpower. If you actually try to draw on the curse mark's power, it won't be effective. That wasn't a problem. So far the thing was nothing but trouble. Hell, it was actually slowing his progress. He really needed this power to be controlled if he ever wanted to continue with his plans to find Itachi one day. There was something else that he had been thinking while in the silence. This power, is it anything like what Naruto has? Sasuke asked as he looked for any kind of reaction, but Kakashi just painted on like he hadn't even heard him. That actually kind of annoyed the boy. He had been hoping for some kind of reaction. I don't know what it is, but both myself and Sakura know he's hiding something. He's got something hidden in the forest, I noticed it. We don't know what, but we guess he'll tell us when the time is right. Kakashi was very silent for a while and Sasuke guessed he was thinking on the subject, then without warning he spoke up. I'm sure he will, when he's ready. Let me just say this, he had a weight of a mountain on his shoulders now, and I hope you and Sakura will help him with his burden. I've tried, but I can only do so much. I don't think I can do much for him, Sasuke said with a shrug. He couldn't guess what was going on, but he doubted he could lend any kind of moral support. He had his own issues to deal with as it was. Actually, you can. He does think very highly of you. He not only sees you as his rival, but as his best friend, well, best male friend. I think Hinata won out years ago. Kakashi chuckled at that. Why? Sasuke did consider Naruto a rival and a friend, although he would never admit the last on out loud. Because you two are a lot alike in some areas, Kakashi explained. Sasuke snorted. He's got a family and friends. What has he ever lost? It came out a bit more bitter than he wanted to, but to him there was no way anyone could understand the kind of pain he had to live with. The fact that the older brother he had idolized, the one that he wanted to be like more than anything, had done such horrible things. Sasuke's life had been torn down to nothing and he had to build it back up from the ground. It was a long and painfully lonely process, but he took strength that he wasn't broken. You're wrong, Kakashi said silently. Naruto has lost. You see, I don't think he's ever told you this, but he's adopted. His parents were killed during the Nine Tails attack all those years ago. They were his only family and he never got to know them, so you see, when he found out he had a hole in his life. I've tried to fill it, but I know what it's like to lose those you've never known. I don't remember my own mother, and my father died when I was young. Kakashi wasn't sure what made him tell this, but he felt that Sasuke needed to know, to see that others felt his pain as well. That maybe, he wasn't as alone as he thought he was in the world. Sasuke for his part hadn't known anything about that. Sure, he had guessed that Naruto's mother had died, but he hadn't known that Naruto was adopted by Kakashi. He had always thought that Naruto just took after his mother in looks. With the mask and how he acted at times, everyone just assumed that he was Kakashi's son. He looked at his Jonin teacher, but the man just was continuing to paint on the seals. You knew his parents? Kakashi nodded. They were as close to me as family. I took in Naruto to honor them. I was alone like you were at that age, but still I took on Naruto. I had no experience and was just a kid myself. It was a long struggle and it was most likely the hardest thing I've done. But in my darkest of hours, Naruto was the light that gave me hope and the strength to continue on. I would do everything all over again without even thinking. Being a father has been one of the best and worst experiences of my life, filled with joy, happiness, sorrow, worry, and so many other things. But in the end it was all worth it. And I feel my life is richer for it. Sasuke was lost in thought. He knew the kind of darkness that you could live with, and he had lived with it for so long it had become natural to feel it. But then something had changed. Ever since Team 7 was formed, the darkness had slowly been lifting. He did feel better these days. With Kakashi, Naruto and Sakura, he felt bonds forming that he hadn't had in years. He was still lost in thought when Kakashi told him this next part might hurt. Wait, what did you say? Sasuke asked, not sure if he heard right. Then the blinding pain as Kakashi applied the seal. He saw white flashes of light and his body felt like an electrical current was running through it. Then he collapsed into the darkness. Sakura. For Sakura, she was led into a different training area. This was one she hadn't been in before as she followed Anko. There seemed to be various trees and rocks that were large enough to hide behind. In fact, she saw how a few rocks had scratches and nicks from weapons most likely on them. There was also a decent-sized lake. Anko sat on one of the rocks as she took out the scrolls that Kakashi had given her. Okay then, seems like you're a water type. Well, I only know fire jutsus, so you're out of luck there, but I do know of someone that can help out. In fact, when we got to talking, we decided to train you and her student together since you're both water types. Someone else will be coming? Sakura asked. Yep, and here they are now. Anko smiled as Sakura looked behind her. Sakura was surprised to see none other than Hinata and Kurenai walking up to them. She hadn't known that Hinata was going to train with them. Why was she training if she wasn't advancing? Well then again, thinking on it, it would be a good idea to keep training for the month. No need to slack off, right? Plus maybe she was also trying to get better for next time. Either way, it would be nice to have the other girl around. Sakura was closer to Ino, but Hinata was the only other female friend she had growing up. So you're training with Kurenai-sensei? I thought you'd be training with your family. Sakura asked Hinata. I felt that I wanted to broaden myself, Hinata said, looking down as she played with her fingers. I need more than just my gentle fist skills. Yes, and since you're both water types, we'll both be training you in how to use them, Kurenai said as she and Anko looked through the scrolls that Kakashi had made up. Yep, that is if you don't have any objections to Hinata learning from these, Anko asked. No, not at all, Sakura told her honestly. Good. Anko was also glad for Kurenai agreeing to this. She had more experience in water chakra control, plus she already had a team of her own. Sure. Anko trained with Sakura with the tonfas now and then, but Anko had never trained anyone for this long a period. Anko looked over both girls. They would have to work on their strength and endurance for sure. Sakura she knew about, but Hinata she didn't know as well. Maybe a friendly spar between the girls would help in seeing how they progressed now and then would help out. So, what's up first, Anko-sensei? Sakura asked. Well, first we're going for a run through the trees. Well, you two will be. First we'll see how fast you can do it, then how fast while being attacked. After that warm-up we'll work on building up your chakra on the water as you two will spar. Anko told them as she got into her all-business mode. She may joke around, but when she got serious people listened to her. She didn't make special Jonin at her age for being lazy. Next will be water chakra training, Kurenai told them both. This will give us an idea of where to take things from then on for the rest of the month. Both Sakura and Hinata hadn't expected all of this already, but they were determined not to be scared off by the workload so far. Oh, by the way, you'll both be wearing these. Anko grinned as she pulled out a scroll of her own and unsealed the items within. Two small vests with pouches in the front and back landed with a heavy thud. The pouches held weights that could be exchanged with heavier ones if needed. There were also shoes, but they looked heavier than the normal ones. Lastly were armbands that looked to be all metal. We need to get you girls into shape and fast. Sakura, since you've done slight weight training, you'll know what to expect when you two put these on. Sakura paled at the heavy equipment. She should have known there would be a catch. Well, what are you waiting for? Anko yelled out. Hurry up and put 'em on already and get ready for some running. Naruto. Naruto followed Jiraiya to a river deep in one of the forested areas of Konoha. He could hear a waterfall nearby and the place looked pretty deserted, not to mention well isolated. He wondered what the old man could teach him. From the history that which he had bothered to stay awake for, Jiraiya was said to be one of the strongest ninja not only in Konoha, but in the world. There was no telling how much the man knew, and Naruto hoped he was going to get some kind of kick-ass move that would totally destroy that missed ninja. Well, first off, take off the shirt and jacket, kid. What? I have to check the seal. Kakashi told me what happened and I need to see if I can fix what was done. He told him. Naruto was happy to hear this as it was really starting to get in the way. He took the black vest off and then was the orange t-shirt. Jiraiya told him to get some chakra going and he looked at the stomach as the seal showed up. It was easy to find what Orochimaru had done. Overall it wasn't as bad as he had feared. Minato's seal had an even number set up, but Orochimaru had placed an odd number onto it. This would conflict with the seal, like two opposing forces. It wouldn't break or damage the seal thankfully, but the boy would have a hell of a hard time getting his chakra working properly. Most likely Orochimaru just did this as it was the quickest way to deal with Naruto. That was Orochimaru for you, no elegance at all in his work. Well, this would be easy to fix, it wouldn't be comfortable though. Alright, I'm going to remove it, but this might sting, so just close your eyes. He told the kid. Whatever it takes, just get that thing off me, Naruto sighed as he closed his eyes. Then he felt Jiraiya slamming his fingers into his stomach. It felt like each finger was like a fist punching him in the stomach and he was literally knocked from his feet. He landed seeing some stars for a couple of seconds before jumping back up. What the hell, you call that a sting? That hurt like hell, Naruto said, rubbing his stomach. Just try to walk on that water if you know how to do it and see how it goes, Jiraiya told him. Naruto grumbled as he went to the water. This was a skill he had learned thankfully. He took a step and found that it was a lot easier to get his chakra flowing right. He would feel the difference now as he jumped up with a shout. He tried making his shadow clones and suddenly 20 of them appeared. Now this was more like it. Jiraiya raised an eyebrow at that. The kid certainly had a hell of a lot of chakra to pull that off. That many clones should have put a genin of his age into chakra exhaustion. Hey kid, how many of those can you make? Huh? Well, I'm not sure. The real Naruto said, scratching his head. I've never tried to see how many I could make. Alright, first thing we need to see is how much chakra you actually got. I want you to keep making them until you're about to drop, okay? Jiraiya watched as the boy made 50 clones, then 80, then over 100, he lost count somewhere around 260, and he was still going. Even a full-grown adult wouldn't have this kind of chakra reserves. He knew that the boy was slowly absorbing the fox's chakra into his own, but to have this much at his age. He quickly tried to calculate how much it would be when he was an adult, and what he came up with was surprising. The boy would be able to do high-level moves several times in a fight. Alright kid, I think I get the idea, you can take them all away now, Jiraiya told him as the boy dispersed them all. After the smoke cleared, he asked the boy what kind of Eustace he had going for him. The 2 wind techniques were nice, although he could tell that the boy could use some work on it. The wind blade would be great to counter any water techniques. The boy also knew how to use that small sword he carried around on his back. Apparently it was the sword of the White Fang himself, now fully restored. His hand-to-hand skills were above average. Hell, they weren't too bad actually, although his style seemed to be a merger of several different ones, not to mention he made things up on the fly. That was good. Being able to improvise in a fight was very handy to have. He had to admit, Kakashi had done well with the kid. He was definitely more than a genin at this point. For a moment he thought back to Minato. He hadn't been this excited to teach since that time. But as he continued to test the boy, he did have some weaknesses. Genjutsu seemed to be one of them. He didn't know much about that himself, so they would have to skip that. Chakra control seemed to be another. It was one of reasons he had trouble with the wind techniques apparently. So have you been training with chakra control, kid? He asked Naruto. Yeah, but it's hard. Dad says it's because of all my chakra. Jiraiya nodded. He's right about that. Regular people have a decent flow like water pipes in a house. You're more like trying to control the flow of water from a dam. You got a lot more water and pressure behind it. Naruto thought he got what the old guy was saying. I wonder if that's why the balloon thing was so hard to do then. Balloon thing? Jiraiya asked, curious, as there was only one exercise that he knew. When Naruto explained, he had to hide his surprise. Apparently Kakashi had been teaching him the Rasengan, or at least the first step. This changed some things. He had no idea that the boy had already gotten that far. He would have to see if he could get him to burst a rubber ball next. If only to see if he could do it, but then again he had a feeling this boy might surprise him. Well, anyway, I think I have something that might work out, Jiraiya said as he took the large scroll he carried with him. I take it that you know of summons since your dad holds the contract for the dogs. Yeah. I can't wait to sign it. Then I can get guys like packing out anytime I wanted. Naruto smiled happily. Jiraiya raised an eyebrow at that. He honestly hadn't thought that the boy would want to make a contract with the dogs. Normally you could only sign one contract. It was true you could sign more, but that was extremely rare. Many of the summon animals didn't like certain groups. It was hard enough at times to just get one signed, as you either had to go to where the animals lived and earn their trust, or the trust of someone that held the contract. Well, the dogs are good for tracking, but nothing much else. Don't get me wrong, they're decent at close quarter combat, but I was hoping you would want to sign with the toads like myself. He pulled out the scroll as it unraveled and a list of names was shown. Naruto thought about it. He really did want the dogs. What good are the toads? I mean, there was that large one I remember you using. Kid, they are great. They have techniques that are totally unique to them. Hell, some of them are bigger than some buildings, while others are small enough to use as spies and letter delivery. They have a wide range of uses. Plus, take a look at who was the last summoner. He knew this was kind of a cheap shot to get him to do it, but he felt it was the kid's birthright. Naruto looked at the list of names, many he didn't know. There was Jiraiya and then he got to the last one before the blanks. It was the name of his biological father, he couldn't help but stare at the written name, and he only really had a picture of his dad and mother. This was written by him, a man he only knew from history books and the stories Kakashi told him. He couldn't help himself but trace his hand along the lines that made up the man's name. You knew him? Naruto asked in a quiet voice. He was my greatest student, Naruto. Jiraiya said as he sat down with the boy. A man like him comes once in a lifetime. Naruto was silent a long moment as he thought this out, eventually he came to a decision. If I sign this, will you tell me about him? I only know what my dad told me and I want to know him more. The old man smiled and nodded. Hey, I tell you, even if you didn't sign it. It's every child's right to know where he comes from. He saw Naruto's surprised look as he stared at man. Oh please, I was his sensei, you honestly didn't think I wasn't around when he and Kushina got together. Hell, I still remember her pregnant with you, boy. I'll even tell you about your mother as I knew her as well. Naruto couldn't speak for a moment, he never knew someone else that had known his biological parents. Maybe the third knew, but Jiraiya seemed to have been a lot closer. Thanks. Good then, now I'll show you how to sign this and we can get to some real training. The old pervert grinned and Naruto just grinned back. That will be it for this video. If you want more, comment down below, like, subscribe. And see you guys later.